time to make our batch of dough. We've rested our flour until the flour has come down to an ambient temperature. Let's talk about the measurements. To build our formula, we're going to start using simple baker's math. The flour is always 100%. The other ingredients are a proportion or a percentage of the total flour. For example, we're going to be using 850 grams of water, which is 85% of the total flour weight. Next, our sourdough starter, levain, which should be 25% of the flour weight. So if the flour was 1,000 grams, we'll have 250 grams of starter, which is 25% of that total flour weight. Final ingredient will be the salt, which is 2.4% or 24 grams. I like to start with the water and then add the sourdough culture on top of the water. Let's get going. So we have 850 grams of water. The water temperature should be about ambient. Right now it's about 73 degrees. The temperature of the water is important because that really regulates the fermentation rate of your dough. You can always add more water, but you can't take it away. So if we need to add more water, we'll do that through the course of mixing. Let's start out safe here at 850 grams. Whole grain flours will absorb more water. So let's start at 850 and see how we do. Next, our sourdough culture. A lively culture. It's risen about 2 to 3 times its height after initial mixing of the sourdough component with more flour and water. So about 3 times the height. Let's go ahead and tare the scale back to 0. We're looking for 250 grams of sourdough starter. Again, 25% of the total flour weight. Our flour is 1,000 grams. Doesn't need to be totally exact, but somewhere in that vicinity is good. Sourdough the scrapers come in handy to get the sourdough out or mixing of the ingredients. Here we go. We're almost there. So about 250 grams of sourdough. Notice the sourdough is floating on top. That's a very good sign. It's called a float test. Just a simple test to check the ripeness of our sourdough. Sourdough, you can see, is suspended on top of the water. I like to incorporate the sourdough into the water here. So I'm going to put the bowl back on the table to start our incorporation here. Your hand is fine, or the scraper, whatever you prefer. I always like to keep one hand clean. Once you get this other hand dirty, boy, things get messy. Keeping one hand clean is the way bakers do it. Back onto the scale to measure our flour out.